When it comes to FEMA,
Yeah.
the job is complex. Not only am I one of the largest insurers in the country, but I'm also responsible for continuity of government for the entire executive branch of government. The other lesson that we learned about infrastructure in this one is part of goal 2 is that our communications capability and backbone is incredibly fragile. It's not redundant, and yet you're being desensitized from a landline every day. You're being told you need this phone or that phone, and we're switching over to digital technology. And it was blown out in Puerto Rico, which caused us a lot of problems, and it was burned up in California. So when do we get with the private sector, the Verizons and the AT&Ts, to say, how do we do this in a more resilient and redundant fashion? Because the technology is changing so quickly that they have a tough time keeping up with it and have to, rebuild. It's expensive to rebuild at a mitigated standard. But here I am responsible for alerting every American of a missile threat or of the Amber Alert that occurred, in Denver and the area the other day. Those are systems that I operate.
That missile threat in Hawaii?
The missile threat in Hawaii is...
That was an interesting one.
That was also going on. They use our platforms for that. But when you look at the communications piece, and I'll tell you here's how complex Puerto Rico is in the infrastructure. And I'm going to ask you guys this question. You guys weigh in, because I'm going to put you in my spot for a second. You've got the oldest power grid, one of the oldest power grids on the globe. It's 44 years old. It's rotted and decayed to the point where the primary power plant that filters into San Juan was shut down because it was too unsafe to operate. They pumped their power out of Ponce, out of the south, over 4,000-foot mountains of rainforest, and they didn't do a very good job of maintaining it to get into San Juan. It's an incredibly fragile system, and the whole system breaks. Everything that you do has to be done basically by helicopter. You're literally dangling workers off of these helicopters to replace towers and attach lines and pulling them out of the rainforest. It takes a long time. The water system, the hospital system, everything is broken. But in the initial response, what was totally broken was the port system and the airports. And this is where the private industry can help me. When you get in, and there is no real port of entry, and you finally have the United States military get San Juan open, and you're trying to create, more ports of entry to get, goods into Puerto Rico, teams, good equipment in. It's like shoving a bowling ball down a straw. Okay, there's only so much bandwidth of all of those people that need to get in and the supplies that needs to get in. So because the air traffic control system was totally wiped out, we had to get the military to put up temporary air traffic control capability. I can talk one cargo plane in every 30 minutes. So here's my question to you. What do I put on that plane? Come on, guys, what do I put on there? Don't be shy. Water. Is that because CNN and Fox News and everybody's telling you it needs to be water?
Probably.
Is it water and food? What else? Medicine, medical supplies. What else? Generators. I can tell you who we were kicking off. But before I do that, you know how much money we spent on food and water and got to Puerto Rico? And where we get hit on we didn't get food and water to Puerto Rico? That's not correct. We got $2 billion worth of food and water to Puerto Rico for that event. That would be FEMA's 14th most costly disaster in history. The problem is that the communication system was totally wiped out, that we couldn't message to people where to go to get the supplies. So if you want to hit me there. And the bottom line is you know who we were kicking off those planes that were dying to get in? Verizon, AT&T, and everybody else for the sake of food, water, and incident management team, hygiene kits, and generators. But what we really needed is, and we've got to rewrite specifically around infrastructure, the National Response Framework, and this is where the private sector comes in. I'm getting permission from the White House to rewrite the whole darn thing when it comes to how we participate with the private sector in the infrastructure. We don't have systems that say in this situation, if you can get one plane every 30 minutes in, here's what you put on that plane. We don't have the systems and the capability of going, all right, there's thousands of Connex boxes that are sitting in those ports. What's in them that the private sector owns, but they can't move it because there's just no workers, there's no way to do it. But if they have food, water, hygiene kits, whatever they have in there, what's the supplies in those Connex boxes that I could have used? And I could have moved it and used it and reimbursed that private company for it. We're not that good. That's where the technology's got to go.